All right. Welcome in, viewers. We're going to be doing a plain old white canvas today. It's going to be amazing. So everyone here that's there, everyone that is here right now, you're hearing a hot mic, as they say. We're getting ready for the show. You might hear a burp, a fart, a sneeze. You never know. Never know. But I'm throwing some paints onto the palette, so you can just sit here and hang out. It's like I'm just hanging out in your paint room with you, or you're hanging out in mine. One of the two. There. Oh, it's gonna be gross. That is a lot of paint. Dude, that is a lot of paint. I feel like Bob up here with just how much paint is on the palette. Okay. That. Excellent. All right, I'm ready. Whenever you are ready. Be cool. Should be cool. Welcome in, everybody. We're about to hit the intro at any moment. So, literally right now. I love this song. Okay. I think I hear this song in my dreams sometimes. There we go. A little bit more. There. Oh, bow, bow, bow. All right. I should have made it look like the last scene of the outro was me like prepping a canvas. So welcome in, everybody. It's Paint with Josh. We're back in the studio with you tonight. We're gonna have a great time. We're prepping our 20 by 24 inch canvas turned vertically. Right, so 20 inches across by 24 inches high. And we're gonna do our little deep forest scene, but we're gonna use oil paints. I've never done one with a blue sky, and I've never done one like this. So I hope you guys are ready. Right now, we're taking our liquid white and we're applying it to our canvas because we need a wet surface. Right, and so I'll show you what the liquid white jar looks like here just in a second because I got to dip in one more time. All right, looks just like this. It's very full. Oof. Now, it should be kind of like, it's hard to describe, like syrup almost, you know what I mean? Just, it's not supremely watery, and it can be, right? So if yours is really watery, that means it's been sitting on the shelf and not been rotated, and all of the titanium white has separated from all of the paint thinner, and so it'll be very, very, very wet like water on the top. And then the more that you get down and the more you use it, then you'll end up with this like giant bit of mud at the bottom, right? And that's all the titanium white. So no matter what, even if your jar is brand new or old, rotate it every once in a while. Every few days, just flip it upside down, let it sit there, right? And then every couple days, flip it upside down again, and open again and again and again. And that'll keep your liquid white mixed so that it doesn't kind of separate and then solidify at the bottom. Right now, I'm going to show you exactly how much liquid white we need to have across the canvas. And you can see just the amount of force. The whole thing is shaking. It would be going side to side if my easel wasn't screwed into the ceiling. Don't tell my landlord, though. Right? Come over here and get the sides of the canvas wet as well. You have to. If you want your paint to slide and be the same and act the same as it does on the front of the canvas, you got to have your sides and the top slightly wet, okay? Now I'm going to show you exactly how to test it, and then we're going to go through the colors, and then we're going to hop right into this guy. This is going to be wicked cool, okay? So if you touch in the corners, in the middle, wherever, right, you should have just about equal amount of paint across the whole canvas. Now, if I get close enough, right, you can even see through the paint to the black glove, right? So all the little dimples in the glove, or in the canvas anyway. And if you touch it, you should be able to see your fingerprint. So let's say you're not wearing any gloves, which is perfectly fine, right? I wear mine to irritate people online. I think that's the biggest reason I wear them. It's because people go, oh, why do you wear gloves? Like real painters don't wear gloves. And I go, well, it made you comment, didn't it? So we're going to go through our colors: titanium white, ivory black, alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue. Then we have our sap green, yellow ochre. I think this is the burnt sienna and the raw. No, it's the burnt umber and the raw umber. I'm pretty sure. Hang on. Burnt sienna. See, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Burnt sienna, raw umber, and that's pretty much all we're going to use. We shouldn't need the Indian yellow, the madder carmine, the phthalo green, or the purple in this case. They're just on the palette from previous paintings. So once our canvas is wet, we're going to drag down into that blue. And then we're going to drag it across our canvas. And because the canvas is already wet and kind of greased up in our pan, our paints will slide all across this thing, right? With very minimal effort. And they'll blend out gorgeously. That's the best part about the oils, right? If you struggle with blending your acrylics, then you're an oils painter, right? Oils are for you. If you don't struggle blending with your acrylics, then good. I mean, you're amazing, because I struggle with my blending on acrylics, right? So all up to us, whatever we want it to look like. I don't need the sky to come down too far though, just about under half the canvas. And when it gets down that far, you can see it's getting very, 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 very faint, right? Because it's mixing more with that liquid white that's on the canvas. So I don't need it to be extremely dark blue down at the bottom. We would rather have the dark blue at the top and then allow it to mix in with all that color. Now, I never just use blue because it's faint, it's boring, you know what I mean? So we're gonna get a little bit of our ivory black. And when I say a little bit, I mean a little bit. Ooh, that went a little bit too far. I'm telling you, they tend to do so, okay? I'm gonna pop in our color up there and then make sure we really dab off that brush before we continue, because that's a lot of paint up there, right? So now we have to work extra hard, almost twice as hard, to blend that paint out and have it mix in with our liquid white and the blue and all the under paint that's all wet, right? Now, when I do start mixing it, I want it to kind of go across that patch that we left, right? I need that little white patch to disappear. Can't be pure white out here. But if we've left it with less paint on it initially, meaning we didn't put any blue and black there, then it's going to be brighter by the time that we bring all these paints in from the sides, right? So we kind of drag them in from the sides, drag them in from the corners, drag them in from the top, drag it over here, wherever, right? The more that you put there, the less white it becomes, right? You really got to push hard on that stuff, but it'll literally look like a cloud already, right? What do you feel like? Should we blend out this area more? Because the sky in this painting literally makes no difference. No one's going to look at it, and we're not even going to see the majority of the top. So we don't have to do too much. You know what I mean? If I didn't like that black area, just get in there and blend it more. Right? All we're going to do is pop in like one little puffy little white cloud out there, and that is pretty much it, you guys. Seriously. The darker it is, the less our tree branches and different things are going to stand out. So we need it to be kind of faint, just slightly different up there. A little bit more blue down here. Fabulous, right? Now we're going to get out there with our big old fan brush into a ton of white paint. So we'll get out down here. And you guys, all you need to do is just check in. Let me know where you're watching from out there in the night. Remember, just popping in a weird little thing. What shape do you want it to be today? You know what I mean? All I need is that white to stand out just a little away from the bluey sky, right? Now, we don't need too terribly big of a cloud. We don't need to even worry about what it looks like, because honestly, we're going to have branches of trees crisscrossing through here, right? So all the that our brain needs to see anyway is that we've got a blue sky with a little puff of white behind all these branches and trees and stuff, right? So we're not really paying attention what it looks like. We're going to get back here. We're going to swipe at it a couple little counterclockwise circles. Boom. You know what I mean? Cloud. Yes? Where are you watching from, everybody? Let's get back over here. LA, North Carolina, UK, Oklahoma, Vermont, Auburn. Let's see. I'm watching from Ohio. I use acrylics. I haven't attempted oils yet. I'm intimidated by oils. I was too, right? I mean, I started with oils. Sure, I mess around with acrylics, but nothing serious, you know what I mean? And starting with oils has given me a better understanding of the differences with acrylics and how they move and stuff like that. So, yeah, people watching from Finland, everywhere, dude. We got Virginia. So they're from Virginia, but they're watching in the Philippines. Tennessee, Massachusetts, New York, New Zealand, Buenos Aires, Massachusetts, Puerto Rico, Ireland over there, France, Tennessee. We got literally people watching from all over the place. Have you done a stormy sky painting? Absolutely. Most of my seascape paintings, especially the Oregon coast paintings, are stormy sky, where they're just heavier in the blue, heavier in the dark, right? The reason that we're doing this one lightly is so that we can blast in a lot of heavy texture, right? So if we have too much paint in the sky initially, then we're going to have a harder time putting on all that texture, right? So let's mix up a little bit of our plaque mix, which is our blue, crimson, and black. We're going to flatten it all down, very flat like a roadway, right? The more crimson that you have, the more purpley, pinkish tone that you'll have in that dark purple mix, right? The more black and the more blue that we have in there, the colder and darker it will be, right? So you decide what you like, and as you're mixing it up, you can almost see what it's going to look like just based off the very thin part against that blade, right? So if I wipe it off, there we go. You see it's kind of like a purplish darkness, okay? Now, I don't want to make my very far away or further away things this extreme dark color. We need this dark color for the foreground. So what we're going to do is take a bit of our white, that's too much, a bit of our white, a little bit of our plaque mix, right? Scoop that guy up, and then start to mix him into a brighter color. And this is exactly when you'll see if you've got more crimson or more blue or more black or whatever, because it will start to lighten that color, okay? Now remember, we don't need to make it too bright, and we don't want to over swipe it too much, because then it's going to take the heaviness out of the paint if we mix it too much, right? So we're going to mix it up. We can see the original dark color versus this lighter color, knowing that it's going to get brighter when we put it back here. Okay, so let's get in here and let's do a scene unlike one we've ever done before. We're going to wiggle down on this lighter version of our plaque mix, right? Then let's just decide, I don't know, maybe right here. We'll tap down a little tree, right? Very vertically. Turn the brush on the side, start tapping it in. Getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Not necessarily trying to make it too thick. So I'm trying to over bounce on this guy, over hit it. So all the thickness of him goes away, right? It's all we need. Literally, you want to have another guy? You want to pop him down here, right? See how we put the trunk right next to the furthest extension of the biggest branch at the bottom so that they crisscross by the time they get down there, right? All things you can do seriously, right? You're deciding what it looks like, how big they are, this, that, and the other. Now, I don't necessarily want to pull them down, and I want to be able to put something else underneath them. So what if we tap, bring down that color? Tap. Boom. Just like we've done in those, like the Fife's Peak painting that we did, other little winter scenes that we've done, we're just tapping at the base so that we're creating that kind of mistiness, right? And then we blend out that mistiness. And the more you mix that mistiness away with the lighter color, the more it'll disappear, right? So we're kind of deciding, what do we want it to look like out there, right? And the only reason that you would even want to do that is maybe putting another one right in between them, right? But if you don't have the misty area, then it's not going to stand out as being in between things, right? Like you have to have that mistiness in there. Maybe we make another little guy. Right? Sometimes the faster you do them, the more realistic they look, right? We don't have to have everything being as full or as thick or as crazy or whatever. All up to us, guys, seriously. Maybe we came down a little bit more. Bang, bang, bang. Tapped in this little friend. Now, he may look like he's back there if we keep him back there, right? Or he may end up looking like he's closer if we bring him down here with our little guys, right? All up to you guys and that mistiness, right? So even though we started him out up here, the mist in between the two areas, right, is what's making him, and where his butt sits down here, so it's making him look a little closer, right? So tons of things you can do, seriously, every time. What if we worked these little guys in, just a couple little tip tappers and chip chaps into the backs, right? And we let them work down and work down, and those will look like they're back there with our little friend, right? Because we won't be able to see their butts. So all we got to do is fill it in enough, right? Remember, it doesn't have to be supremely dark. Just fill it in enough so that we can get back over here. We're going to have to redo this tree in the front, but either which, or at least some of it's a little bit, right? Tapping it down, allowing it to get softer. You can even let it continue on. It'll continue to look like further trees, and we didn't even paint those. But it ends up looking that way. You can't tell me it don't. All right, now let's go back and fix this little guy before I add any mist at the base. I'm going to come in against his little guy, just push out a few little arms that are sticking back out over there. Again, making him look more distant, right? What do you feel like today? How much paint did you mix up? Because maybe we can get one more little tree back in here. Seriously, little guy, okay? We'll come over here. Oh, we might want to go kind of mid-range, make a little small one just to get away from being right up underneath it with a taller one, right? So then you can get over here, tap down, and then boom, look at that. How much depth have we just filled in right in the center of the canvas just by having that lighter color, right? You tell me. Seriously, how far do you want these guys to go down? Again, it's up to us. We are choosing how big they get, how many things sit in front of them. This, that, and the other. It's all up to us every time, right? So let's take a quick little commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to throw a little highlight on these guys, maybe add one more little misty one into the back, and then launch in our foreground. We don't have a lot of stuff into this painting. So hang out for this quick commercial break. We'll be right back after these words. What's wrong, dude? I'm trying to book my Paint with Josh class. Oh, that's simple. He's got an app. What do you mean he has an app? You didn't know? Everybody has an app, you dummy. It's gonna be way better. Where's my phone? Dude, are you for real? Everything's on an app now. Show me how this works. Show me now. Show me now. I'll show you how it works. Let me get my phone. Hang on. Dude, booking the classes is easy. I use my Paint with Josh app to get notified when the show goes live. And then if I wanted to purchase the paintings doing live on the show, I'm going to tap the menu button, click buy the live painting, and boom, it will appear. All I have to do is add it to my cart, and here we go. Dude, this is like way easier, and I love that it notifies me before the show starts, because half the time TikTok doesn't even do that. It tells me after he's already finished. Bro, same, I feel that. I always get the notification at like 6:20, and he's already done by then. Yeah, no, thanks, dude. I'm gonna book my acrylic class right now. Yeah, thanks, dude. Who's that guy? It doesn't look like me. So I'm gonna come over here, getting that color back onto our brush, okay? And I want to do maybe one more little guy back in here, right? And remember, we're going to mist up his whole bottom side, so we really only worry about what the top looks like. You can even let him fade down and fade down, fade down, right? Ah, gorgeous. Seriously, might have done that one beforehand, but it's okay. I saw him, and I was like, you know what? He looks fantastic, or he will look fantastic. Now watch, I can literally do the same thing down all of these if I wanted to, and make them look more and more and more and more misty the more that I do, right? So if we tap down over here, taking that color, not dragging it, not swiping it down like that, right? We're just tapping it, allowing it to come down into the liquid white, which is picking up more color, right? Picking up the liquid white so that when we come up here, it drops a lighter bit, picks up the darkness and brings it down. And so just over and over, that's all we're doing. You know what I mean? Each time you want to bring some of that mistiness up here to look like even further away little bits of forest. You can. It's all up to you. Seriously. What do you feel like doing today? Right? Do you want to come back in and make these guys a little bit crazier? Maybe you make the mist go up a little higher on this bigger guy. Maybe we take out that whole branch and we just kind of tap it until it disappears. Right? It's so up to us. What do we feel like today? What do you feel like today? All right? That is the question. right? And all we're doing is mixing this stuff in as it goes, right? This liquid white will literally help any of the dark color disappear the more we mix it, right? Oh, that's looking cool. I didn't think it was going to look that neat, honestly. I was like, ooh, let's just try this out. I mean, didn't think it was going to be that cool looking. And then I can decide as well, right? Because I have an idea. I had an idea in my head. And that idea might change now just based off of how pretty these little guys are looking, right? So that's the cool part about doing a Paint with Josh tutorial as well. You don't have to just follow along with whatever I do up here, right? You don't have to. I'm just giving you a little idea what it might look like if you tried to do something, or, you know, did this in this way, then it's going to look a certain way. I'm going to hit that little, there you go. There you go. See? All about making it making it work until I want it to be like that. You know what I mean? However I feel like it should be. And remember, it's just plaque. Literally, we don't want it to be, excuse me, it's plaque with a little bit of that light color in there, so it's not ultra dark, but we're not trying to have it stand out. We don't need to see every single piece of every single tree. Isn't that the coolest thing you've ever seen? Let's get down. Just because I have more paint, right? I got more on that little pile. Boom, same color, but because I'm in the mist, right, it's standing out as being a little closer to us, all based off of where his little butt sits, right? So how far does he come down? Oh, this one is coming out better than I'm literally ready to change my whole idea and not even do what I was going to do and just continue doing this. Seriously. Okay, just to match over here, right? Because this mist isn't such as strong as I want it to be, as dark as I want it to be. I'm going to put in a couple little trees. Just a little bit, same color. We haven't even messed around with any darker color. We're just using that same first light amount of plaque mix that we had, right? Because none of these trees have to be the same, right? We've got all this mist flowing through them. So we're bouncing at a downward angle, taking that mist down, right? Now, the reason that I was going to do that initially, because I planned on putting one of the massive whacking trees into this one. But the more that we do, God, the cooler it looks, doesn't it? So let me darken this guy up right here. He's a little bit too light. So I'm going to take a little bit more of my plaque mix with no extra white. I'm just going to put it into that kind of lighter color of plaque, okay? I still need to be able to make it darker by adding more. So it should not be its full plaque mix yet, okay? I'm going to get in here with that darker color. I'm going to go back over this little guy. There we go. Hopefully dropping off more paint. There we go, in a darker amount so he looks closer. There. There, fat little chunky old little guy. Right, now same thing. I'm going to tap at the bottom. Okay. And then we are going to stick with the plan, Josh. Don't variate from the plan. Is that a word? I mean, it is, right? Variations, but would you say variate? No, I wouldn't say that. Either which way. God, you guys are fun. Okay, let's get down now, right? We're here. What I want to do is put a little bush in. So I'm going to get my round bushy brush. I'm going to go back to that darker color. Right there, right? Not our pure darkness, but a little bit darker. Oof, there it is. Hello, yes! What was that? Not this one. Excellent. I like it. It's a different one. Hey, cool. Thanks for grabbing that starter kit. Who got that? If it was you, then come forth and tell us. Because those are going to be, you're going to have fun with that starter kit. Let me tell you. Ooh, a deluxe starter kit too. The more expensive of the two. My God, look at this painting. It's got to be so neat. Seriously, I could make these go on. I can make them come up here. I can make them dip down. I can make them go on forever. This could literally be, right? I'm making it up as we go. If you haven't figured that out yet, right? We're literally making it up as we go. So this one's looking cool though, right? Main thing is I'm tapping at the base of everything so that it is a lighter, not just a lighter color, but a lighter consistency of the paint, right? The paint down here is very flat now because I've mushed it a million times versus this, versus that, right? We're just kind of taking it from its heaviest point down to its thinnest point anyway, right? Again, get back in there and mix it up. How many more layers can you put in there? Because I could probably put 3 more layers in if I really wanted to like smash in the detail. I could put in at least 3 more layers of just forest, right? So if you wanted to do just this, I would do 1 more tree here, right? At least 1 to 2 in that misty area, and at least 1 to 2 on this side. Finish your bottom and call it good. You know what I mean? If you wanted to follow along with Old Paint with Josh, then get ready, because we're going to be putting in enormous trees into this thing with our branches sticking out up here. So we're going to lose a lot of our sky. And it's going to be slightly different because of this, right? This is where I wanted to get down to, down here. And then we're going to get a little of our green right onto the brush, a little bit of our yellow ochre, tap it into our 2-inch brush, and then we can start piping out little lines of grass, either one above or one below each other as they start. And you can change the angle, you know what I mean? How do you feel like your grass goes? And after so long, it stops looking like grass. So get your butt in there with more paint, tap it in, right? And some of the times, if you're not using like a deep, dark, sappy green, then you need to add this dark mix under and then use your liquid white. And that tends to be a giant pain in the tush, right? It's that hill going down. Or you come in at a flatter angle and you have a little bit of flatter color. Now, remember, go back, get the color on the brush, come back in. We're going to highlight our tree at least up here in the front, so don't worry about that guy. Tap it, right? The less darkness that's underneath, the more bright your grass will be, right? So if you leave more white underneath it, it's going to look very faint, right? That's why we're trying to use that deeper, darker green. If, like I said, you need to. Let's say I needed a little bit darker. I would go into my plaque mix, and I can tap in little areas of maybe some shadow, right? Let's say it got too bright. I wanted to go, you know what? Let's get in there with more dark. Because grass is not just green. You guys, seriously, especially on a white canvas, like green over white. No, that doesn't work, okay? It gets way too bright and ends up looking as flat as a griddle for making pancakes, right? Now remember, we don't need to really focus on too much of the grass down here because it's going to be all covered up. You just don't want to have any space of white canvas showing left, right? Tap in my grass on the edge for whoever grabs this one, so it's a nice finished painting all the way around the side. Right, and even over here, I don't need it. It's going to be covered in a big giant tree trunk, but I at least want to put it there for my brain. Right? Now, I decide, again, where I want it to be, or if I need a little darker patch, or vice versa, a little brighter patch. Tap it in. What do I feel like it looks like today? Up to me. How do I feel like the angles change? Again, totally up to me. Don't do too many things, right? Don't make it all exactly the same color. And then you just leave a couple little bits out there. Seriously, we're going to cover up all of this and most of this, right? So you're really only worried about doing it kind of, at least for this painting, in the center, right? That way we can really launch in a whole big bunch of stuff. Now, maybe I came and made too dark, my grass was too dark, so I got to come back with my yellow ochre, and maybe the light is just coming in right in here, tapping lightly so it doesn't just all mix away too fast. Right? And then we got a little bright spot in our grass, just lightly, right? If I want it even brighter, come in with a bit of white. Boom, just a couple little things though. Seriously, you do too much, it's going to make too big of a difference, right? And we don't like it at all, we come back in with the black. All these things you can do and change, and the more that you change the colors back and forth, right, the more realistic it's going to look. So you're deciding what you feel like that day each time you do it. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, now let's get our plaque mix at least in the most darkest version of its own self, and that's definitely not going to be enough. So let's go get some more, and we'll really mix it down. And while I'm doing this, you guys check in. Let us know where you're watching from out there in the night, and I'll try to read some comments while we're doing it. And can you tell a difference? Does anyone tell a difference in the lighting? Does it look brighter to you today than it normally does during the show? I got new lights, and so I'm wondering if they are brighter or not. So we got Alabama, North Carolina, Oklahoma. We got people watching from Algeria. That is all the way on the other side of the earth. Yes, they are brighter. You love it. Tampa, Lake Charles, Louisiana. Looks great. Sorry. So in order to find the starter kits, right, you're either going to go to the Paint with Josh app or paintwithjosh.com, and then you're going to use the search bar and type in the word starter kit or deluxe, and that will, there's only one thing in my store that's named deluxe, so it'll pull up your starter kit right away, but they're literally called starter kits. So there's only 2 of them. There's one where you get a few brushes, a few colors, and then the deluxe one you get a few more brushes and a few more colors, so you can do a few more things, right? So as far as the deluxe kit, everything comes with except the green and this brown, right? You get 1 brown, 1 yellow ochre, the blue, black, crimson, white. Maybe you do get the other brown, actually. I can't even remember now. That's why I always have to look. I have to look at the description of my own listing to make sure I'm getting the right colors when I go to Michael's to get them for you. So we're going to take our liquid white and a little touch of that green and yellow ochre, and we've got to mix it or at least smush it onto the brush enough that all the white goes away. We don't want to have any little white spots. We don't have any snow in this painting, right? All of our light is going to be coming in from the right to the left, so we can start dropping on little taps, right? We do not want every space of this dark color to be gone. If it all disappears, then guess what? We've lost all the depth of our, look at just how much more depthy it makes it. Just with a couple taps, right? We're not trying to cover the whole tree. I don't need everything to disappear. This guy, I can make him a bit brighter by hitting it a bit harder, right? I can have a few more than I did on that other tree because he's 1 layer closer, right? So up to me, again, what it looks like, how many times I tap on it, because the more I tap on it, the more I'm taking away the brightness of the green as it mixes with the dark color, right? So you're deciding with every tap on the brush, seriously, do I want this one to have a little? Maybe. Just a couple? Ooh, no, seriously, couple taps. Because if you put on too many, it becomes too green or too yellow, and you've lost all of the depth because you can't reach into the shadowy area. There is no shadowy area. It's gone. You covered it, right? You took it out. It's gone forever because you covered too much of it. So very small taps, very small brush, right? Small little tip taps, and then it's almost about how many taps you do, because the more you do, the more you're going to brighten up that tree. And we don't want them to be bright, right? We want them to be dark. Okay, same thing on our little bushies back here. Let's see if I've got enough space on this brush. Get into our liquid white, because I use the top half of the brush for the dark shadow. So liquid white into the green, into the yellow, right? So you're kind of mixing both of them together, okay? Getting both the colors on the brush. And then again, some of this stuff gets covered, right? So don't focus too much on any of it, because you make it, again, too bright or whatever the case, right? Then it's going to stand out too much. And if it stands out too much, then our big trees that are over in the front of all of this stuff aren't going to make any sense, right? You don't just have to use the green and the yellow, right? Some of the times you can get in there. Let's see if we can make it work. Just a little tap of liquid white, a little bit of my crimson, again, smushing right into the pile, like in front of, but I'm in the heavy part of the paint. I'm not down here. I'm not pulling it out to where it's very thin down here and then tapping it. No, I want that texture on there. So when I come up here, pop in, ooh, just a couple little red little bits. Just seriously, you put in too many and it takes it all away, right? It makes us think that it's all red, and you don't want that. Oh, gorgeous. Seriously. Now, we're going to launch in our enormous tree trunks. You got to be ready for these, okay? Because they've at least, the 2 big ones anyway, at least have to be 3 fingers at the top and 4 to 5 at the bottom, okay? It's a big tree, okay? I'm telling you right now, it needs a lot of paint and a lot of kind of trust in your friend Paint with Josh right here, okay? Now this is not a big tree. This is a big stick, right? Like that's a big old stick right there. And sure, you could leave it just that thin if you wanted to, right? But I'm gonna kind of thicken it out a bit. At least that heavy, at least one brush length at the top. So I can go across the whole thing, right? And then only have to get bigger as I come down here. Now we have to forget about everything else, right? Do not think about the stuff in the background, right? And we don't need to get, you know, it doesn't need to get terribly thick at the base, right? Just slightly bigger down here. Take our paint, fill it in, just covering everything else, right? It's just dark enough that it's standing out, cutting its way through the sky and contrasting against all that bright paint, right? Dark enough that it stands out as being the closest thing to us. That is the goal, right? So we're just blacking it out, everything, all the color behind it. It's all wet, right? And so the more that you're intermixing with light color like that green and yellow, the more darkness you have to put on your tree. And just really up and down and then very gently against the edges, right? You don't want your brush bristle to sneak out, and now you've got to make it even bigger, right? So, just like so. Let's pop in another guy too. He always needs a little friend over here. I love doing these big old trees too. They're just so much fun. Boom, right? Come down here. They can touch at the bottom if you want, right? Making a very long little V shape. But then you really got to make sure anyway that this guy there is thick enough as well, right? So we're kind of taking up the last corner and then making it go off of the canvas, right? This part right here really makes it look round because we're going off the canvas. It's wrapping around the edges, right? We really want to darken out everything down here. Make it dark because we need that deep dark color in order for our highlights to stand out. You see how the difference in the dark is down there, right? So now, some of the times our lights make the paint look very bright because the light's coming from a certain angle and it's catching the brightness and it's making our tree trunks look brighter than they actually are. So if it ever does look like that, right, what we need to do is just swipe the tree to the side. And that's only for you guys to see. And it's just changing the directional swipes of the paint that's inside this tree to make it look darker, right? Just to your eye, right? You don't have to do it when you're painting it. If anything, I'm just trying to get enough of that paint on there. Not caring how, you know, what the reflection looks like in my lighting in my house. I just want to get a bunch of stuff on there, right? As far as our painting videos and stuff, if there's a lot of glare on there and it makes it look bright, it tends to trick everybody. And you're like, no, I didn't want it to be that bright, right? Like it looks a bit brighter than it should because of the lights. So just remember, it's got to be dark, it's got to be big, it's got to be nasty, right? Meaning we need enough darkness on the tree. And then all we have to do is pipe in our branches and stuff, which we're going to use a filbert brush for, okay? So if you guys know me, you know my go-to brush is a fan brush for sure, right? But we're going to be using the filbert brush in this one because it makes really cool, kind of more realistic branch shapes for these ponderosa pines, right? So we're going to be using the filbert brush. But again, it should be very dark, right? Pushes very tall, pushes everything into the distance, and then we can do one more over here. But I don't have enough paint, right? So let's go mix up some paint while you guys check in. Let me know where you're watching from. In the night, right? Where are you from? I'm gonna try to mix. I'm gonna try to blindly mix and like read the like every like, you know, like not texting and driving like like that. That is not what you're supposed to do. No, do not do that. Okay, we'll come over here and see where you guys are from. St. Louis, Philadelphia, Tennessee. Let's see, loving this already. Can't wait to try it myself. Says Michaela over on Facebook. Alex Moore says it's beautiful. Let's see. Arkansas, Jamaica, Georgia. Let's see. So that's a great painting. I wish I could do that. If you have the correct tools and the correct teacher, you can. We got the UK, Monton. Is that how you spell that? Or say that? California, Pacific Ocean. You're out there watching in the ocean. Illinois, New Jersey, Mexico, Michigan, Washington State, Mississippi, Kansas, Vacaville? Or is that Vacaville? Oh, yeah. North California. Oklahoma, South Dakota, Idaho, Ohio, Colorado. And you guys are just nailing it. This is my favorite so far, says Kyle McCarty, 87. Thank you, my dude. I appreciate you. It's coming out really good. Right now, again, we've got you, and you don't have to, okay? You don't have to, but if you do, it's just going to help, right? Try to miss our trees here. This is why we put them in the center and didn't really care about what was happening over on the side, right? So we could get in here, and again, this one is almost the fattest, the biggest one, taking up the most space. That, bang, ooh, just gross. But you can see, if you don't have enough paint on there, it just won't be dark enough. You know what I mean? It has to have that dark color, especially along the back side, right? Where the shadows are going to be getting. Everything else on the front, I guess, could be a bit brighter because we're going to be using our highlight and our light colors that are down there. But the back side, guys, it's got to be dark. It's got to be. And if it's starting that thick already, it better get crazy thick down here then. And that's what will happen with this right side tree. I found when I'm painting it, I'm like, okay, I did one, then I do a thinner one. Now I'm like, you know what? Let's go crazy. Let's go wild, right? Look at how far, and forget about what's back there, right? You have to. It's the whole point of it, is to not see what's behind the tree. So if you're coming down and you're trying to miss your, you know, your pine tree or whatever back there, it's going to look weird, right? You got to cut right through him. Like, think about, I mean, even look outside your window right now. Look outside your window. What do you see out there? Maybe your neighbor's house, right? What's your neighbor's backyard look like? You don't know because the house is in the way. You can't see the backyard, right? Like, or maybe you look out and see your neighbor's backyard, right? What's in his front yard? You don't know because you can't see it, right? It's behind the house or the shed or the trees or the forest or whatever, right? It's behind it. So forget it. You can't see it over there anymore, right? So why are we worried about it? Again, got to be very dark, okay? Very dark. So, yes, remember, this one is available. You can grab it. This is all I do for a living. Literally, this is not my side hustle. This is the full hustle. This is the gig, right? This is all I do to earn money, is come up here and paint for you guys. And some of the times, people will grab the paintings during the live show, right? Other times, they don't, and that's okay. But in any case, we have to name it, right? So start thinking of a name, what you might want to call this one, right? And if I look up there and it's still, okay, I was going to be like, if I look up there and it's still bright, then I know there's not enough heavy paint up there. But if I look up there and it's bright and it's because of the glare, then that's a different story. Excellent. Seriously, heavy, heavy, heavy to make it dark, right? Woo! I mean, you might even use liquid black in that instance. That might be the one time. I might want to try that on a different tutorial and try the liquid black, because that would be the only time I would want to use it, would be to do this. Oh, okay, now we're going to switch away from my most favoriteest brush of all time, which is the Paint with Josh fan brush, right? I have to get as much paint of it out as I can. Have you guys ever done that? Like, put it flat on your table and then push with your palette tool? Look at how much paint I got out of that I can use in my other brush, right? Now, obviously, we're not trying to push it so hard that we cut it, but you can get some of that paint out, and that will help your thinner stay thinner and not be full of chunky paint, right? So let's wash off this brush. I was going to say, we should be coming up on time for commercial break. So, yeah, why don't we do that now? I'm going to mix up some Paint with Josh Black mix, right? I've washed out my old fan brush. Probably going to put it away because we shouldn't need it much anymore. We're going to switch to this Da Vinci filbert brush. This thing is enormous. It's like the size of my thumb, but it's a filbert brush, right? So we're going to switch to that guy to make our branches and stuff. I'm going to mix up a whole bunch more of our Paint with Josh Black mix because we're going to need it for a couple bushes down around the bottom so we don't see all of this grass. And then we're going to need it for all of our branches and foliage that's going to be coming from the top. So hang out for this quick little 30-second to 1-minute break, and it just gives me a chance to take a drink real quick so my little whistle can stay wet. So we'll be back right after these words. Holy cow, did you see with all of our new setup and all of our new equipment that we can actually see I'm talking about all of your comments. So not a single comment will get missed, nothing gets lost. I can see them on the television.
And London, right back here, is checking everything out on the computer. So comment, comment, comment. It helps much more than you might think and helps boost engagement and gets us out to more people. So let's get back to the show and see what we got going on up there.
Ooh, you guys, this is an enormous pile of plaque. I'm not even sure I guess I'll use that in the bushes, and I'll probably have to end up making more, but this is an enormous pile. So you guys check in for the final check-in time, right? We usually check in about 3 times per show. So when you're watching the tutorial, you better be checking in 3 times. Otherwise, I know that you left or you skipped forward or whatever, right? So we're going to take our filbert brush. Now, this brush will make the coolest shape if it's not overly filled and if it's new, right? And when they're newer, they make a more sharp shape. We got Indiana, Austin, Texas. Let's see. Forest through the trees would be cool, absolutely. Wisconsin, excellent. Tulsa over there. I have 3 different fan brush, but they're all thin. Yeah, the Paint with Josh fan brush is very much like an acrylic fan brush, but a very thick, sturdy one, right? We got PA over there. We got CA. We got NC. We got TX. What's Ohio? OO. No, it's OH, I would imagine. Sacramento, CA. Meadows Edge. That's a cool title. I thought that was a place. I was like, oh, I used to live in a place in Las Vegas called Mountains Edge, but then I figured you might have been talking about the title. We got OK. We got Maine, which is for some reason ME instead of MA. Don't ask why. You got the OHIO over there. We got the RI for Rhode Island, right? East Tennessee, Cyprus checking in. Check, check, check. We're at West Point, Ontario over there. Okay, we're going to come back with our filbert brush, okay? And I don't want to overload it. I kind of want to wiggle it down. So we're just getting paint out there, right? Very straight line of paint along the top. If you have a very straight line of paint along the top like that, then it's going to make a very awesome bush or branch, right? So now we're going to flip it over. I'm going to get the other side as well. And I don't need too much paint because I'm going to do it multiple times, right? If I have too much paint, that's going to make me try to do it, you know, and keep going and keep going. That's just going to mess it up. So if I hold it vertically like this, and we can even start from above the tree up here and just kind of tap down, right? We're just making little smiley faces with this filbert brush just by tapping it. And then we're going to tap it up a little bit, just a little different angle. We can change it and tap it down a little bit. We're just touching the brush to the canvas, and it's making the shape based off of how much paint is on our brush, how much pressure we've pushed in to that little shape. Now remember, it does take a couple, it's a more of a fine brush and more of a fine shape for sure, but it just means that you got to spend a little bit more time making it. You can't make such a big mess up there, right? So little amounts, right? Come down here, tap it out, tap it out, tap it out. Remembering that there's stuff above these guys, there's stuff below them. We're kind of looking up at the canopy of these trees, right? So if we tap off a little bit, come over here, they can crisscross in between, go back, get a little bit more paint. And again, it's just a little bink, 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 right? Just pushing the brush against the canvas, but we're doing it enough times and at the correct angles. So maybe we go up on that guy, but it only works if you're holding the brush at the right angle and if you've got enough paint on it, right? And if we don't have enough paint on it, then it's not going to stay sharp. We're not going to have that cool little kind of sharp bits to our little tree. Now, they kind of always look funky right around where they connect, and so I always make them a little bigger and fatter, right? Like there might be some other branches and some other trees on the other side and the front side, because we're only looking at the back side. So if we drag down vertically, then we push all those branches, right, to the front of the tree, and we're looking at the back of the tree, right? So it's all up to us and how we kind of drag and push against that canvas, right? How much paint that we have on our brush. What do you feel like? Sometimes you can even draw out like a little branch to give yourself an idea. Sometimes you can draw out little branches or little puffs of things that never grew all the way, right? I mean, they did at one point when the tree was just this tall and this was the top. It had all these crazy branches on it, right? But eventually the tree grew up and it had to start catching light higher and higher and higher in the sky, right? And as it caught the light higher in the sky, the branches had to grow, right? And again, I told you this whole thing was going to be covered. At least the top section can be covered in all these crazy little branchy little bits that kind of hang out, right? And reaching for each other. They can be just as big or just as small. They don't have to wrap around the tree, right? You get all these little things happen out there. Some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger. Usually in the top, we're just making enough of a mess that you can kind of see through it and you kind of can't. That's pretty much it. You can kind of see through to a couple little bits of sky through there, and then some areas you kind of can't, right? So up to us, what do we feel like? Over here, a couple little bits, a little bit here, a little bit there. And it's almost like just keep adding it until it's almost disappeared, right? And once it's almost gone, then you know you've got just enough branches up there in the top at least there where we can't see through them, right? We're trying to see through these little guys. It's not going to happen, right? Because it's too full up there. And that's going to make it perfect. That's why I always say kind of attach it to the trunk itself. And if you need to, then you can go back in and swipe down and pull all that paint away, right? So how big, how many, how often do your branches come down, right? To where we start tapping at it. Then go back in, get more paint on that brush, right? You have to tap it up, turn it, tap it up, tap it up. Little things, right? Especially the lower down on the tree that we go, the more we have to pay attention to the shapes of these little guys, right? We don't want them to be too big. And again, fatter where it connects onto the tree, just like that. Oh, so gorgeous. Yeah. So remember, if you like this one, you can grab it, right? All you got to do is head to paintwithjosh.com or use the Paint with Josh app, right? And grab this one before someone else does. That's literally it. The more time that you waste, the more chance it'll be gone, right? So tap up little bits, little bits, little bits. Beep, beep, beep. Right? Now, some of the times your brush can get overly full as well. And if it starts getting overly full of paint and it stops making those sharp little shapes, then you got to go wipe it off, right? Go back, get more paint, come up here, little bits, little bits, little bits. Beep, out there. We don't want them to touch out there. But right, the whole thing is all just overly filled. That's the main point of it. Maybe I want another guy out there, right? Along the top, along the bottom. A lot of times you can do it quickly and it looks a lot better because you're not trying to make it look like a certain shape, right? And if anything, just make it connect around where the tree trunk is a little bit heavier. Drag it down vertically to push those branches through the trunk and onto the other side, right? So remember, I'll go back with my fan brush and make this guy dark. But all it is those vertical lines are making the paint catch the light a little bit differently, right? So wiggle down, make sure we got a nice little flat little brush. Let's tap out little things, right? Because not every branch is so big. Doesn't all have to be the same size, right? Like, depends on what you feel like today. How much do you want your tree to be? Or how big? How many branches? How many little things do we have coming out? Right? Tapping onto the tip, and then a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher, so we get a bigger thing. And then again off the bottom, but up to us and the amount of paint that we have on the brush. Right? So each time that you guys do one of these, right, is another chance that you can try something else at a different shape or a different amount of heaviness or whatever. Right? We're gonna make it bigger, make it bigger. Now remember, it's got to be kind of dark, so we want to push against it and have enough paint, enough gunkiness on the brush so that it remains dark, right? Now, if I'm going to go in between these guys, push out there, over here, tap up, tap down, just so I have that initial shape, and a couple little things as it starts to go off in the other direction, right? The branches don't have to come down all the way. They don't have to be overly filled. We don't have to do them the same on each side. We can do whatever. Seriously, you guys. Tap out a little bit over here. Maybe that whole center area in the bit is almost just so overly filled that you can only see a couple little specks through the trees, right? That's what I want it to look like. And if there's ever a gap in between something that's too big, right, you're gonna pop out something over here, A little bit, or we fill in this little area and just have a new little branchy thing come out. Right? Where do you feel like they should be today? Because it is all up to you, sir, madam. Whoever shall painteth with Josh. There. That's cool looking. I like it, right? Now I want to do a little swipe out to the side. And if you can see, right, where it's coming from, if I take away that swipe, make it vertical, it looks like it's going off one direction, right? If I come in here and I say, you know what, I want to start from the middle of my tree and go zip, and pull it out that way, it's going to look like it's pointing back at me if I highlight from the center of the tree, right? And I'll show you all that coming up very soon. So let's go wash out this brush, and then, yeah, guys, this one's going to be fabulous, dude. Seriously. If you guys don't go and grab this one, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Cereal. Out there, a little bit, little bit, little bit. Right, the bigger it is, the more, you know, heavier it's going to, the more light it's going to catch all the stuff. Okay. Right, it's just going to help the tree look a little bit more full. Dude, I can't, there's just, it's too fun. You guys ever do that? It's just too fun. I can't stop. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to wash out this big old brush, and you guys are going to start coming up with a title for this painting, right? What do you think this one should be called? Remember, if you purchase it during the live show, you get to come up with a title forever. You get to tell me what it's called. Right? You get to come back and be like, hey, I got this one, and I want to call it Tim. And we'll do it. Honestly. Man, that filbert brush holds a lot of thinner in there. Woo! Okay. Now, I'm going to come back, and I want to get just a little touch. Grab a little different filbert, same size one, but now that one's all wet. I don't want it to be too wet. So I'm going to get a little bit of my sap green and the yellow ochre again, and then we're going to go across it and just touch so lightly on some of these guys. Because remember, the more that we tap at it, the more it's going to want to smush, the more we're going to want to cover up all of that paint. And we don't want to cover up everything, right? We want it to be dark with just a little touch of light and that green and yellow to it. Remember, we're looking up at these trees. A lot of them are, you know, in the shadow of the forest. We don't need to see every single thing up there. A couple little taps, a little chippity chappity, right? Just to have a bit of yellowy green on there. We don't need every piece to be the same amount of yellowy green. These little guys, they might not even have any yellowy green in there. Maybe there's more on this side than there is on the other side, right? But just having those little bits, right, where we're pushing against the tree with enough of that paint that's got our liquid white so it'll drop off just enough. I'm not trying to fill it all up, right? If I filled it all up too much, then it's going to get too crazily bright. And we know that if we're looking up at the sky, right, the sky is going to make these trees look nearly black, right, as we're looking up at that silhouette. And so you don't really need to see a whole heck of a lot of anything, right? Nothing up there. I do need to make one more little spot dark, though. There. There. Gorgeous. Okay. Now we're going to come in. I got to wash off all these brushes, and we're going to come back and highlight the tree trunks and make them just the most 3D, nastily, heavily barked up tree trunk you've ever seen, right? They're actually going to bark. That's how tree trunky and barky they will be. So I'm going to get a few of my colors and my palette tool and show you how to do it. I'll also show you how to do it with a fan brush and a little bit of our liquid white, just in case not everybody is as versed in the palette tool as everyone else. And I like to try to come up with ways to show everybody how to do stuff. Wow. That came out of my hand. There we go. Goodness. Okay. So you guys start coming up with a title. What do you think this one would be called? Type it out, right? Let us know. If you don't type it out, I'm not going to know what you want to call it, right? So you've got to do me a solid and type out what you would like it to be called. Right? Seriously, you never know. Someone may purchase this one, and then they're going to be like, oh, I saw this title that was just the best title ever. And that could have been your title. But if you don't type it in, then we're not going to know whether it was you or not. Right? There we go. Okay. So those two massive filbert brushes out of the way. We got all this excess dirtiness. There we go. Anytime you use a lot of texture like this painting, it takes a lot of paint, you know what I mean? And so you need a lot of paper towels to clean that stuff up. There we go. Okay, so why don't we take our last little commercial break just real quickly, and then when we come back, we'll load up our trunks, and this painting will be done, you guys. It's going to be wicked cool. Ah, it's going to be so neat. So we'll be right back after these words. Hey guys, what are we doing over here? Did you know we've got more than 2,800 videos that you can watch and learn from? And we're actually going to upload this video to one of our playlists right now. You didn't know we had playlists? Tons of them from 2021, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Seascapes, landscapes, everything. Get over there, watch it. I don't know what else to tell you guys to do, but I got to get back to work. So get out of here. What are you doing? Get out of here. Who's this guy up there? So I've got my last brush that we're going to clean off, and then we're going to be using our, our raw umber, our burnt sienna, our yellow ochre, and maybe a little touch of our plaque mix if we need to. Seriously, you might even want to run some of our, I guess, mossy stuff up your tree, in which case you might use the green, right? But let me show you with the fan brush first, since I'm not going to do the whole tree with the fan brush, okay? I want to get a little touch of liquid white, very small amount, because I don't want to change the color too much of the brown, right? Drop that other bit off in front of that guy. And kind of mix these two browns together so we have that liquid white, and then I'm going to tap the tip of the brush into that stuff, right? So then I can come down here and I can tap in very vertical lines, tap, 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 right? Creating the look of trunk, right? Or of the bark of your tree, right? I'm going to go a little bit lighter on the brown in here, a little bit darker on the brown on the outside, right? So the more that I tap and the more that I go crazy on this guy, the more like bark it's going to look if I can keep differences, right? So I'm going to get that lighter brown and a little bit of my yellow. So it's starting to get brighter, right? As we come around this way, keeping those gaps in between. And then I would use that yellow ochre kind of on the front, tap him in, again, just in little different things, right? We don't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be a straight line, right? And then I would come in with the last little bit, bang, to catch my light like that, right? And so you decide how you want your little tree trunk to look, right? And again, it shouldn't be so bright. We're catching a lot of glare on that guy, but in either case, you can do it with your fan brush and a little bit of liquid white, just using the tips of the brush, which means that you have to go at it many times, right? And it's going to look like my acrylic class that I taught earlier today. So it's the same sort of thing. By the way, this painting and this painting are the examples for the acrylic classes, right? So if you like acrylic landscapes or acrylic seascapes, right? Then we offer both of these guys. Both of these paintings as well are available. This is 2324 and this is 2327, right? So depending on which one you like, but this is what it's going to look like if you have, or if you use your fan brush and you got little things like that, versus what ours is going to look like when we use our palette tool. It's just gonna be a lot thicker and more textury, right? Now sure, you could get more texture with your acrylics if you use that sculpting medium and different stuff like that to make it more like oils, right? But when we use the oils, we don't have to do any of that, right? What we're gonna do, same thing, we're gonna get our Van Dyke brown, very deepest, darkest brown, okay? We're gonna come around the backside just tapping at it, right? So as we're tapping, just like we were tapping vertically before, we're leaving this dark ridge of paint. And that paint is sticking off of the canvas at different heights throughout the entire tree, right? That's what's going to give us that barky feel. So when the painting is dry and you're done and you're, it's all dry and you go over and you feel it, it's going to feel like wood because you've got all this texture on that tree trunk, right? Versus the acrylics, you're not going to feel anything because there is no texture. Right? It just looks like there's texture there because we left the dark patches, right? The dark base of the tree trunk itself has to be left dark. We can't cover it even with our darkest brown, right? Now I'm going to get our raw sienna, which is more that brown, the lighter brown color. I'll take this guy, tap it right down the center, kind of almost into that darker, browner, shadowy area, Okay. Now, the more taps that I tap against this guy, the more that that kind of reddish brown is going to mix in with the black mix that's underneath. It's going to mix in with the darker brown as we go back onto that side. And it pretty much runs the middle to the middle left is this reddish color. And we're just tapping at it, right? Just literally. I get a roll of paint, I tap at it, some of it sticks to there, some of it sticks to the blade, so I go down, I tap at it again, I go down, tap at it again, go down, tap at it again, until there's no more paint. You know what I mean? That's all we're ever doing. Literally, we're trying to use a roll of paint and attach a small amount of it on at a time, and then some of the times where it's heavier, right, you can go up and touch that, which will attach some of it back onto the blade, and then touch it in a different place, right, which will drop it back off. So you never have to be dissatisfied, I guess, if it's, you know, if it came off too heavily in one spot. Go back there and grab it and go use it somewhere else. You know what I mean? The more textury we make these guys, the more it's going to stand out as being closer to us, right? So if we're layering on a ton, like a heavy amount of paint, this is that reddish brown, the burnt sienna mixed with our yellow ochre. So you can see it's slightly brighter. No white or anything, just the yellow ochre, right? We don't use the white when we're down here in the tree trunks. We're going to use the yellow ochre out on the very front. So let's leave a little gap on the front of the tree, right? So we're not going all the way out there because we're going to come in there with our pure brightness of our tree trunk, right? So we're kind of tapping against it, and that, bang, right there. Tell me that doesn't look like it's just catching all that light. And then I can bring some of that yellow into that reddish side, right? Just brightening it up slowly as we go, right? I can even go all the way almost into the center with that yellow bit, right? And just make sure that it's broken. Make sure that it's not the same throughout the entire tree trunk, and we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a good time, all right? Make sure that it's not overly covered, so we're leaving a space in between, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be such a large space or a, you know, such a equal space or the same as, you know, similar as the other paint or whatever, right? Like it's, each tree is its own little tree, right? But look at that, how it's literally coming to life with that reddish brown. And then, so we got our yellow ochre, then yellow ochre and burnt sienna, then burnt sienna. Then we're going to take our burnt sienna and try to tap over into that raw umber or Van Dyke brown, which is the darker of the browns. And that will help it make it look like a shadow, right? Tap it in. And it doesn't even have to be straight down the middle, right? You can let it kind of crisscross back and forth. Sometimes you'll have a little spot all the way on the shadow that's catching some amount because the, you know, the trunk or the bark is thicker in that spot. So it's just kind of standing out there and popping away, right? We get to do these things, guys. We get to decide. Little taps, little taps. Stay inside your lines. Right? We don't even need to go down all the way because we're going to have our bushes and stuff down there. But that's just the yellow ochre. If there's ever a spot that's too dark or too big or whatever, get back in there and make it smaller, right? This takes a lot of paint, you guys, seriously. And the more that you tap at that yellow ochre, right, the more it's going to mix and go darker, right? So you're deciding what it's going to look like. And I never go yellow ochre all the way to the top, right? At least let it blend into something darker up there, because you would imagine you wouldn't see all of the light of the trunk way up in here, right? Some of these trees would be blocking that tree from catching the sun all the way up there. Right? And then again, how do you like it to look today, right? That is honestly the only thing that matters, is your liking. What do you feel like this one should look like today? Maybe I'll take a little bit more reddish and put it up into that area, right? Because it was getting a little too dark. Or right here, where it looks like there's a kind of a straight line. What if I break into that dark side just a little bit? And back over into the light, right? Seriously, what do you feel like today? Maybe that side should be a little bit more reddish, orangish brown. Right? Where are you catching your light today? Seriously, because it's going to be different tomorrow. It's going to be different the next time that you try this exact same painting, right? So you choose what happens, and that's only one. We've got to do it on multiple trees. This is why it takes, I mean, sure, it takes longer in acrylics, but this is why this painting, and these paintings anyway, are expensive the way they are, because it's holding a ton of paint. And it takes a good long while in order to do this. Now, even if I was doing it quickly, just for me, right? If I was like, okay, I'm gonna tap over here, I don't really have to explain. You can see I put that big thick section right down the middle of that reddish brown, okay? Then I'm tapping it to the left, excuse me, the left, there we go, and the right, so that it's almost reaching the edge, right, on both sides. We've got a little bit, it's almost like 60% covered in the middle. Then you got your darker side, and then you got your room for your lighter side, right? If we lay this thing down like this, then by the time we go over it with our dark and our light, having this red paint underneath, I would imagine would make it easier, and I'm not sure why I didn't do that initially. So what I do with the acrylics, we drop down the red bit first. By the way, both of, and it's not red, it's burnt sienna, it's just a reddish brown, okay? Both of those acrylic paintings are available for sale, just as well as this one is available. You can get this guy if you check out the Paint with Josh app, either on the Google Play or the Apple App Stores, right? Check out the old Paint with Josh app. And this painting is number 23, right as London walked away. 2328, 9 mods. This is right as London walked away to the restroom, I think. 2820, it's right on the home page, right? So if you're using the app and you open the app and then you hit the little menu button, it will say buy this painting right there, and that's going to take you right to the right spot. If you're just using the web browser, right, then you're going to go type in paintwithjosh.com, and the very first thing you see at the very top of the page is this painting, right? So if you like this one, that's going to be the one you want to get, right? Let's get in with our burnt umber, or excuse me, raw umber, which is basically like black. It's such a dark brown that it is like black, right? And we're going to tap in that raw umber into different areas, even making a little ridge, a little here, a little there, okay? They don't all have to be vertical either. My student Libby today, she might be watching actually, did this twisted bark look, which looked really neat. I was like, dude, I'm gonna post that, and then everyone's gonna say that, oh, I like hers better than yours, Josh, and you're supposed to be the teacher, blah, blah, blah. I mean, people say it all the time. Can you imagine? They do. If you're like, no, you're just kidding. No, I swear. When I post these paintings from the classes and stuff, people will be like, wow, I like hers better, your students better. We're like, oh, I appreciate you. I do too. I take more time with the students so that, you know, their paintings come out better than mine, right? I've done 1 million paintings. I don't care what mine looks like anymore. I care what the students looks like. And if we spend more time making theirs better, then they want to come back and do more classes. There we go. Chippity chappity. Don't go outside your lines though. Right? The more we tap it, see how it's kind of blending itself into that reddish paint already? That's what I want it to do. Right? So we put the burnt sienna down, right? And then we put our burnt umber down, that darker brown, okay? Over the back side, and then let it feed into that burnt sienna, because remember, the burnt sienna is taking up the majority of the center, only leaving a small bit. So we'll put one untouched color, then one color that mixes with that burnt sienna. Then we'll put our yellow ochre on the edge, and then allow it to mix with the burnt sienna as it starts going off into the night. Right? And then again, how many little separations can we leave in there, right? If the paint won't come off of your blade, because I agree, it's very thick paint, right? And now we're trying to stack thick paint on top of thick paint, right? And sometimes it just doesn't want to come off the blade. So you add a little touch of your liquid white, seriously, smallest bit you can use of your liquid white, and so it will help it come off of the blade and attach itself onto the tree. Now remember, up at the top, we kind of over mix it because we don't want that brightness way up here. So even though I'm putting it here, I'm going to tap at it enough that it sort of blends its way down with the darker colors that are underneath, whether that's the trunk, like the base darkness of our shadow, or our dark sienna, or excuse me, burnt sienna, or the other color that's back there as well. And then I can get back in here, which would be that raw umber. That's the one I was forgetting. There, right? And get back over here. Now, if I put yellow back here and brightness, right, kind of looks weird unless I was to fill in this area with more brightness, right? Hey, now it's kind of filling in that tree trunk. But you put on too much, and then you run the risk of covering all of our little black ridges, right? So now you got to go back and put in your black ridges. Now you do this too many times and everything gets bad, right? So don't overdo it, okay? Don't tap in too many things. Don't put on too many things. Not everything has to be the same, right? And take a step back and look at it and go, okay, I see that maybe over here, right? I can say that with some certainty that that side need to be a little bit brighter, right? All depends on me. If I want to get a little touch of liquid white, because now we're getting really heavy, and so we get a little touch of my liquid white onto the brush or onto the blade into that pile, and then I come out here. Look at how easy it comes off, right? All up to us guys. And then if I tap at a certain place and tap at it and tap at it and just kind of work myself away from that place, then it ends up looking so much cooler, right? But if I just leave something that's either too disconnected or too bright or too dark, then it just doesn't look right, right? But if it's close enough, then everything works out good. And if it's not all the same, right? It doesn't need to all be exactly the same. And like I said, it's getting thick, it's getting crazy, so we need that liquid white to allow that paint to come off into certain areas. And so if I'm looking at a certain area and I'm going, you know what, I need that place to be just a little touch brighter, right? Just catching the light just enough, and that's what I got to do. Right? Now, that is why with the acrylics, it's much easier, because the more paint that you put on these trees, right, the more muddy it's going to get. So same thing off of our little guy up here. We don't need to do too many highlights on this one. It's more shadowy backside of the tree than anything else. So we're going to pop in a couple little bits, staying in our lines, making sure we, kind of stay separated. And then remember, it doesn't go down the whole tree. That's amazing right there. I might just leave that one like that. Fabulous. Put our little thicker bit of paint around the backside, so our raw umber, just so we have the same amount of texture throughout the whole tree. You know what I mean? Ooh, that's fabulous. Dude and dudettes. Dudesa and the dudetsa. Guys, that's looking fabulous. Okay, let's launch in with our last bit of our plaque, and probably the last bit of paint that I'm going to use all weekend. We need to make it thick and crazy, and we're going to launch in a little bush at the bottom. So we need our bushy brush again. We're going to plunge, like I made a giant pile. We're going to plunge into this pile. Okay, so we get all that texture into here. And then we got to plop on all that texture, right? Maybe it's coming over or covering over some of our trunk of our tree. Maybe it's not, right? All depends on where we put it. But this has to be so much thicker than that, right? That's why we left all those things very faded and faint, and so that these guys can come in here and be all crazy, right? Then we'll go back and highlight them. Maybe we got something off the side over here. Bang, right? Over there. This side's we're already off the edge. We do need our heavier texture down here. Right? You can even see it in the color on the canvas, right? If the color on the canvas in the shadow area is not dark enough, then we know we don't have our texture in there. There, guys, dudes, guys, gals, and painting pals. This one came out absolutely stellar. So if you guys want to grab this one, head over, grab it off the site, paintwithjosh.com. You guys go get it. I'm going to tap in just a little bit more darkness down here, because I would imagine that we're not catching all that light just yet, especially if we put in our bushes and stuff down there. There. Okay, now we're talking. Okay, so fill it all in. It doesn't have to connect, but it can if you want. You know what I mean? Ah, that's fantastic. Okay, now we've got to wash off our bushy brush, and then we're getting out of here before 6:30. Okay, before the 30 on the hour, we are out of here. So you guys got to come up with a title, and then if you purchase it, like I said, that's going to be the only way that we end up staying after 6:30 is if it's purchased. But if you grab it, you get to come back and tell us what to name it, remember. So whatever you feel like it should have been called, you get to choose that, right? It becomes your painting, and you get to tell us what to call it. But you got to be the first person over there to grab it, right? If you're not the first person there to grab it, then you're not going to get it. Someone else might grab it in front of you. Literally had people message me where they said, oh, I was putting in my payment details, and then by the time I hit checkout, it was already sold. You know what I mean? It's like PlayStation 5 when they first came out. So, come up with a title. This one came out just stellar. I love the mist in the trees, the grass, all the stuff. Fabulous, right? Now I can get my liquid white, my green, and my yellow ochre. Again, very heavily onto the brush and then very light-handedly touching here. So I'm not covering up all of that darkness, right? Again, if we cover up all of the deep dark color at the bottom, then we're hurting our own self. Like we're going to have a bush that's devoid of any depth because we can't reach down inside of it, right? You have to be able to reach in and pull something out. So if you have put on too much, right, or too much color, too much green, too much yellow, whatever it is, right, then you won't have a bush worth anything because it's just going to be flat, right? And if it's too flat, then nobody's going to like it, including you, not just me, right? You're going to send it to me and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I like the colors you used and stuff. You know, maybe next time a little bit less of those, but you are going to be the one that's upset because you're going to be like, oh, I did like it until I did that. You know what I mean? And I get it. I've done that before. So, you know, all that is, the quote unquote that is a different thing every time. And I've done that, and I've done this, and I've done it here and there at this time and that time. Like, that's why I know how to tell you guys how to do it, how to avoid it, right? So you don't end up doing the same mistakes that I made throughout my entire painting career. Mystic Forest, family of pines, it's cool. Parent pines, I like that. Fall Pines Meadow, that's a cool one. El Pino, I'm assuming that means for pine trees. Last Timber, the Forest of Misty Dreams. Someone just said, love, love, love it. We'll just put that on the back. There's like title, love, love, love it. Very cool. Thank you guys all, seriously. So remember, if you grab this one live during the show, it could literally go at any moment, right? Then you get to name it. If not, then we all have to come up with a title for us, right? So, let's see. Do-dee-dee-doo. Bingo, bango. I'm going to see if anybody's got any interest in it, checking it out over there. And you guys keep hitting me with your titles, man. Ooh, there's a ton of people over there. If you're trying to get this one, there's other people there with you. You never know when it could go. Right? Could literally be gone at any moment and out of your grasp. So you better get it quickly. Let's see. Perfect. Okay. Let's start checking out them titles. Shady Pines, Hazy Pines, Family of Pines, I like that. Pine Acres, Heaven on Earth, Picture Frame Pines, I like that. Use some of this paper towel to wipe up all of this gunk. Oh, there is so much paint on this canvas, you guys, seriously. Remember, we do have a less expensive acrylic version of this exact same painting. Right? Very close to it anyway. It doesn't have the grass at the bottom, but it's very close. Painted earlier today during a class with Libby, and it was just literally came out awesome. So those class paintings are always less expensive than the actual show paintings that we're doing for that night, right? So if you like this one and you want to get an acrylic version, very similar to this guy, then check it out. It's literally right there on the homepage, right beneath this painting. So you'll be able to see it, and to be able to see what this one was going to look like as I finish cleaning up, and then we'll go pick a title. Make sure I get all the paint off of my gloves before I go and like pick my sleeve to pull it up. You guys ever done that? I think I did it. It's not on this sweater, right, London? No, it's okay. But I think I had like yellow, like a patch of yellow ochre on my thing. And I went like after the show, I had like an itch or something. And so I scratched the itch with my thumb, leaving a giant patch of yellow on my back. And London had to tell me later that there was paint all over my back. I was like, oh, that was probably from the class. Here we go. I'm going to take our odorless mineral spirits and our black paint, the ivory black. You could use your black mix. I'd already cleaned it up, though. And then let's toss them way up here into this opening. And everybody's got to do it with me. Remember, whenever we're painting the birds, collectively on the count of 3, we all have to go caw and just sound as ridiculous as we all can. So I hope you're not anywhere in public. I hope you're in your house watching, but we're going to do it in 3, 2, 1. Caw. You gotta do it. Bang. Throw the birds out there flying through the trees, man. So let's put our signature on the bottom over here, and then we'll call it good, guys. Hit me with your titles for the last time. And literally seconds to go if you wanted to grab this one. You better be checking out now. If not, then you're going to miss out on the perk of naming it during the show, because I'm going to choose for you, right? Which is what some people want anyway, you know what I mean? So even after we title it, it is still available for you to get. You just can't pick the title anymore because I'm about to write it on the back in permanent marker. So it shall never come off, right? So what do we got as far as titles? I did like the Misty Hill Pines is cool. Meadow Between the Pines. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it. Morning Miss, The Forest Through the Trees. Mystery of the Mystic Pines. I like that. I like how April on Facebook literally wrote out caw. So I hope you guys all said it as well. Spring Forest, Majestic Forest. Let's see. There's tons of comments from Anna Charlotte over on YouTube. Thank you. Spring Forest again. Hazy Days is cool. Where the Saplings Grow. I like that. Spring. That's a good idea. Lennon just said, what about Spring Forward? Because didn't the clocks just literally go forward yesterday? Yesterday or 2 days ago? Yesterday? Goodness. So I'm down for that. Seriously, let's call it Spring Forward as far as daylight savings time goes. And where's my marker at? I had that sucker over here earlier. I'll use this one over here. Sign my acrylic one with. So remember, guys, we do offer acrylic paintings, acrylic classes, I mean, along with acrylic paint. There are acrylic paintings in my store that you can purchase, but more the acrylic classes is who we're trying to reach. So if you do acrylics and you are struggling with your seascapes or maybe making giant landscapes and trees that look natural, then let's do a virtual class and we'll get us both to improve with acrylics or oils. So whatever you feel like, there's a class for you. Beyond that, let's pick a title real quick like. Get a little of that white spot to go away. There we go. Pick a title real quick like. Oh, like London said, what was it? Hang on, Spring Forward. See, I remember, guys. So I honestly can't wait to see your guys' versions of these, this painting anyway. It's going to be fantastic. And it is still available. So if you wanted to get it, you can have it. Right? Blend across the top. It's always nice when there's big old tree branches across the top, so you don't have to match the sky. You can just blend it nice and dark like the trees would be. Laziest painter ever for sure. Over here, grabbing our marker, and then we're going to sign this little guy. So, Spring Forward. Sounds like a cool title. Now, over there, over here. Bing, bang, boom. Like that guy. Number, what was this one again, London? 2328? 2328. Thank you very much. Calling it Spring Forward. I like that. Bang, bang. And painted on 3/9 of 2026. We're all going to go check out the Paint with Josh app in the Google and Apple Play stores or app stores. And if you don't want to find the app, then you can always find the rest of my stuff by going to paintwithjosh.com. If you're on TikTok, you can look at my bio and check out my link tree. Oh, by the way, someone said the link tree link that's in the, or for the Discord. The Discord that's in the Discord link in the link tree. There we go. Said that it was expired or whatever. So we'll take a look at that. And then, yeah, you guys, what's up? What's up? Oh, we're looking at it right now. Got it up on the screen. The cord. Yeah, it works apparently, guys. So, yeah, if you go on the link tree that's in my TikTok bio, and click on it, and where it says join the Discord, then you should be able to find it and join the Discord. But yeah, it's going to be amazing. This is a 20 by 24 inch, definitely. A little bit bigger, a little bit taller than what we normally do. And it came out amazing. So we did an awesome show. We're going to take our 2 days off on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I'm excited because I'm getting tattooed tomorrow. That one that I was going to do my whole arm, you remember? And I was all scared and nervous about it. I'm trying not to think about it now and become more scared and nervous about it. But beyond that, you guys have been fantastic. I can't wait to see your versions of this painting. So send it in to us on Facebook or drop it into any of the comments threads that we have. I post on Facebook all the time. So find one of the comment threads, drop in your version of this or any of the acrylics or any of the scenes that we do. Literally, it doesn't have to be under the same photo, right? So beyond that, I love you guys. I can't wait to come back. I'm going to put in one final detail and we'll do it again next time. And until I see you guys again next time, right? Take care. Rest of a good day and blah, blah. Well, that one came out amazing. I want to thank you guys for being here, liking, subscribing, tapping the screen, commenting, and interacting with me. It's all been fantastic. In the meantime, before we get to our next painting, be sure you check out paintwithjosh.com because there's always something else to look at over there. So until I see you guys again next time, take care.